So, do you think the budget did enough to address the current slowdown?
Okay. As I told you earlier, that the earlier policies announced by the government, particularly the headline news on corporate tax cut, every finance newspaper has highlighted that, and everyone expected corporate tax cut will do wonders, right? That didn't materialize because it was mostly a supply side factor, right? And as is very, and I am quite a strong believer in Keynesian macroeconomics. So obviously we cannot believe in the idea that supply creates its own demand, right? It has to be the demand which has to be generated. So to that respect, the most positive thing about this budget, if you ask me, is the line which Nirmala Sitharaman herself has mentioned in the budget, that the budget is meant to boost the income and the purchasing power of the people. That this is the word that she has used in the budget. So at least the government is correctly moving to or correctly targeting the correct remedial measures where it needs to address. Now, to what extent it will going to address this slowdown? The first thing is how to boost the consumption demand. One of the major things that the middle class family looks to for the budget, and which is they are very, very highly sensitive to this aspect, is the income tax. And the majority, if not 80% of the middle class population in India have income level which is 15 lakh or below 15 lakh. So cutting tax rate will going to give higher disposable income in the hands of these people, and this in turn can lead to their increasing the consumption expenditure. So it's basically like boosting the consumption demand, which comes from a traditional Keynesian macroeconomic theory. Higher disposable income will going to boost consumption demand. Now, the critics say that, what about the exemptions? That means how much you desire in terms of the higher disposable income is not materializing, because the government has, if you have to accept this what is called the new tax regime, then you have to give up the tax exemptions that you were earlier enjoying. Now, government cannot do both simultaneously given the tight fiscal rope that government is working on. Okay, that would have increased the government's fiscal deficit to a significant level. Having said that, there are some hundreds of tax exemptions that are available till now, and it has been found that 80% of those tax exemptions are not even utilized by 90% of the middle class taxpayers, right? So over time, what government wants is that to merge most of these tax exemptions or to withdraw most of the tax exemptions. Like there are some reports which say that government will going to do away with 70 in the over time, and in the long run, medium to long run, government might go do away with the entire what is called the tax exemption schemes. But the cut in income tax probably will going to facilitate boosting consumption demand, but it will take some time. Why it will take some time? Because people will going to start enjoying this after 2-3 months, right? So one has to wait for 2-3 months to see the effects. This is about the domestic urban consumption demand. But what the budget would have done good was to also look into the rural sector consumption demand. Unfortunately, fortunately I should say, while the budget proposes quite a 16-point agenda to boost or double the farmers' income, but these are mostly long-term perspectives. As Keynes popularly mentioned, We live in the short run, we are all dead in the long run. So immediately what would have required would have been larger allocations in income guarantee schemes, in uh, the Prime Minister Kishan Yojana, etc. But those allocations have remained mostly stagnant in 2019, as in the 2019-20 budget. So to what extent the consumption demand in the rural sector will going to increase is something I am skeptical about.
So, do you think the government had the fiscal space to do it?
Yeah, that is, you are 100% correct. Obviously, government's fiscal space is very limited for two reasons. Reason number one is that slowdown has already have an adverse effect on your tax collection. And government also, if you consider the government expenditure, then government expenditure is also mostly has been kept stagnant. In fact, some data says that if you consider the revenue expenditure and the capital expenditure for the current budget, government has kept both of these or has marginally increased those expenditure target for the thing. But if I believe that if the government could have been more bolder enough and could have gone about spending more, disregarding its adverse effect on the what I call as a fiscal space, for 1 or 2 years, we could have had a higher budget fiscal deficit as a percentage of GDP. It could have even crossed 3.5–4% also. But in the third or fourth year onward, as our tax collections start improving, given that this could have a stronger multiplier effect. See, worldwide always, what world has observed is that whenever there is a slowdown, it is the government who has stepped in. This is what the fundamental Keynesian economics has said. Whether it is in terms of government consumption expenditure, that is a revenue expenditure, or whether it is in terms of the public investment, that is the government investment. So I felt that somewhere government should have been bolder. Fiscal space, you are 100% correct, is not there. Fiscal budgetary deficit or fiscal deficit has been on the rise. In fact, government has to rely on as a source of their revenue on the disinvestment of LIC and Air India as to collect its funding. But some deficit or some increase in deficit is often desirable if people take the government's initiative to boost public investment and consumption expenditure as something as effective, and it could have resulted in higher multiplier effect, growth in GDP at a faster pace, and then the deficit would automatically have come down. So fiscal space is limited, you are correct, but could have been ignored.